Hello, I'm William WhiteCrow, your host, and welcome to Quantum Quest Radio, the show that entwines science, the spirit, and time itself to bring you closer to true reality and the truth. And today's show is sponsored by the Crow's Place store, and you can get there by going to williamwhitecrow.com, go to the top menu, and click on the Crow's Place store. This is a place where service and high-quality herbal products are the name of the game, and new products are being added all the time. So if you want high-quality products, fresh products, herbal products, go there. You can also get my William WhiteCrow's 100% natural emergency first aid spray there as well. So don't waste any time. Summer's here. Go there. Get it. Also, NorthwestSafetyandSecurity.com, the place that takes your personal, home, and business safety and security needs very seriously. And new products are being there added all the time. Right now they have dash cams, bug detectors, complete home surveillance systems, as well as battery-operated outdoor early warning systems of every type. Okay, I titled tonight's show, Space the Final Frontier, but I put a question mark there because I really want to look at that. I've been looking at a lot of stats and a lot of things that are going on with space agencies, and they're trying to make it look in many ways like we can't get out there. Well, on the other hand, other agencies are trying to make it look like, excuse me, we can. So I want to just look at life as it is right now, and the evidence of life on this world and other world. Of course, we know what's here on Earth, but I want to go back into the ancient times and everything and talk about what our ancestors talked about, what they had found, what they realized was reality during their time. We're only interpreting a lot of the ancient histories now. And it seems like all of our ancient histories, Aboriginal peoples from around the planet, from Africa to Central South America, the Incan, the Aztecs, the American natives, here the Dogon tribe of Africa, all of them talked about beings coming here from out of our system. Not within our solar system. They're talking about beings that come from the heavens and way out there. The Dogon tribe had maps, basically, the dots on their bodies, and scientists didn't understand what they were, so they asked them. And they told them about star systems and things of this nature from a long, long time ago, pre-man history, human history, shall we say. They were talking about us being created, as do the Sumerians and the Anunnaki. The ancient text of the Sumerians that talk about the Anunnaki who came here. Their lifespans obviously were a lot longer than ours were. So we really want to look at this type of stuff, Where did life start within our solar system? Who was it? Was it us? Well, the facts are, scientists are already talking about that as fast as man has grown on this planet and developed on this planet really is impossible. We have had to have some type of help, because genetically, just growing wise and understanding technologies and developing newer technologies has happened faster than any other life form on this planet, period. And right now we're the only life form on this planet that has also grown so much and created so much technology that we have damaged our planet. Okay, now we're not going to talk about damaging our planet. That was a show before this one. What we're talking about is life forms here. We're going to look only within our solar system. We'll look at Earth, we'll look at Mars, we'll look at the Moon, and yes, we're even going to look at the Sun. We're going to talk about some of the things that people have seen, the abduction experiences of what people have talked about. So we're going to kind of get into this. I know we only got an hour here, so I'm going to do the best I can within that hour to really help people look and see what's going on out there, because NASA and everybody else, they've been BSing us. They haven't been telling us the truth at all. I've got NASA employees that have finally admitted, yes, we've been in contact with other beings, other species from other star systems. We know for a fact now that we have a secret space program going on that is far more advanced than the one that NASA's talking about. We also know that there's a breakaway civilization that are using these retrieved technologies that have been reverse engineered. So we know that what's going on here. We know there are extraterrestrials, or visitors, if you wish to call them that, or others, whatever name you choose to use. And we always also know they've been here for a long, long time, a lot longer than us. So we're going to get into this. And first thing we're going to do is look at the Earth. And what we see here on Earth that is an indicator of a pre-life before humanity, what was here. I think you're really going to enjoy this. As far as the Earth, let's look at that. Look at the ancient architecture. Look at the ancient histories that we've finally been able to decode. The hieroglyphics on the walls in Egypt. It shows aircraft. It shows what looks like submarines. It shows helicopters. It shows all of our monoliths, all of our ancient sites. They're dealing with these beings that came down from the stars, came down from the sky, and everything. All of our legends from every single Aboriginal culture that there are talk about we were created here, and they worked on us several times. They just didn't make us and we were done, but like putting bread in an oven. It seems that they genetically modified us several times before they got what they wanted. And all these ancient legends talk about us taking care of the planet, or we were workers of one form or another for these beings. Now, the ancient Sumerian texts talk about the Anunnaki. We'll just touch on base that real quick here. These beings came from outside our star system, outside of our world, shall we say, from the heavens, the stars. They came here. One-way trip just to get here took 36,000 years. So that's just an indicator of their lifespan that they had. And then they stayed here on Earth for many hundreds of thousands of years. And then they turned around and left, but they said they were going to come back. Now, even through the scriptures, it talks about God and everybody, Jesus saying, oh, we're here now. We're not going to be here forever. We are going to take off, but we're going to be back. We're starting to find out, because of our intelligence, because of the internet, because of our development, that we're part of a bigger picture here. And I'm not going to go into the genetic programs or anything. We're just going to look at what is the proof that there is other life form here besides us, and where are we headed right now as far as our species. We know we've tore things up on this planet. I talked about this in the last show and everything. And so we're in some dire straits as far as our planet goes. And we'll do a show on our future, what we can do in the direction that we're heading there. And it's going to be a good show because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But let's get back to where we were here. We're going to talk about Central and South America and Egypt, every single one of these cultures, including Africa and all over the planet. Talk about these beings that came here, created us, or brought us here, and to help them do what they needed to have done here. Get the resources and everything. They were looking for monatomic gold. They were looking for things. As a matter of fact, the Anunnaki, they talk about their technologies got so advanced that they screwed up their atmosphere. My goodness, doesn't that seem like what we're going through right now? With the chemtrail spray and geoengineering of our planet. And now some big universities and things are talking about going higher in our stratosphere and putting more sulfur chemicals and things into the atmosphere there, because to do what? They say there's no global warming, but why are they trying to put these things in the sky to stop the sun's rays from getting here and warming up the planet? So, that's obvious. They've been lying to us for a long time, like NASA and everything else. We do have a secret space program. There is a breakaway society that's pretty much running everything on this planet right now. And we're going to get into that. But look at the architecture. Look at the things that have been built, millennia ago. And structures that we can't even build today. We have to be real about this. Why did they make these heavy-duty structures? If I was an ancient species and I came here, from another world, I'd want to make something that's going to last me thousands upon thousands of years, structure-wise, instead of building these little tiny houses that we're doing right now. We're using a lot of resources that we can't renew. Well, we have found out that these beings also are still here through UFO sightings, through abduction experiences, and this comes from top echelon people, military people, pilots, airline pilots too, law enforcement officers, judges, presidents, all over the place. They're talking about, what they have seen, what I have seen, and probably what many of you out there have seen in our skies too. We know that there is another presence here besides us. And we also know that we're connected with them somehow. And if you study your ancient histories and your ancient legends, you'll find out how connected we really are. As a matter of fact, these species were putting their footprints on Earth way before we were even thought of. That's a stone cold fact. They talk about pre-Diluvian, pre-flood existence, I guess you would say. And they knew the flood was coming, according to some of these ancient, these are BC histories, before Christ histories, talking about beings that knew the flood was coming. So they left the planet, and then they came back. But we also realized that this was just at the end of an ice age. So all these ice caps and everything was melting, and if you got a bucket of water, let's say, and it gets cold out and freezes, the first thing that freezes is just the top and around the edges. So you have the center part that still has the water. the theory is now that they're talking about that these giant ice caps and everything did the same thing. The last thing to thaw and break loose was the sides, the walls around the frozen areas. So if these walls break down, you're going to have a massive flood across the planet and everything from these massive ice caps, because the Earth is basically almost a snowball at one time. So they came here during a perfect time when the ice was melting off, 12,000 years ago or 12 to 15,000 years ago, they talk about. And they talk about reigning on this planet, meaning living here and running things for millennia. They even talk about conflicts that they had here. They talk about their lineage and everything, how they created us. So we are a big part of what's going on out here. So not only do we have all the ancient Aboriginal peoples and ancient societies of the planet talking about these beings that come from other worlds that came here and created us. That's what the Bible and everything is all about as well. But they talk about them coming back, and we see in the evidence that many of them are still here. As a matter of fact, NASA astronauts have even said that they have seen these beings. When we first landed on the moon, let's be factual, people that have shortwave radios are always monitoring what the astronauts are doing up there. We can do that. If you got shortwave radio, you can listen to them. You can't transmit on those channels, but you can listen to everything that's going on. And the first time we landed on the moon, they walked up to a crater and said, they're enormous. They were talking about craft. And they said, they're watching us. So right there, when we first landed on the moon, there were beings on the other side of a crater where we had landed, and they were watching us, seeing everything that we were doing. Now, that's amazing. A lot of people say, oh, no, do your freaking research, and you'll find out. So we're going to be talking about, the moon. We're going to be talking about Mars. We're talking about Earth. We're going to talk about what we've seen in our skies. The fact is the International Space Station has gotten so much footage, raw footage of UFOs in the skies coming close to the International Space Station and other things that happen within the space station that it's unbelievable. You can't hide this stuff anymore. The Voyager pictures, all the Rover pictures, the orbiter pictures on Mars, everything that we've done on the moon, all the Apollo missions flying over the moon and around the moon on the dark side, on the light side, found structures, found craft, things of this nature. We'll get into this, but we'll get into one planet at a time as we go on here. So, and the sun, there's a lot going on around the sun, and we'll talk about that in the last aspect of the show, the last part of the show. So find yourself something to drink and got to get a good place to sit down and everything, because we're really going to go into some stuff here. And I know you're going to like it, because this is showing humanity that there are already things going on out there. That's where we need to be. Our planet is in serious, dire straits right now. And a lot of the scientists, the top scientists of this planet and planetary scientists are saying that there's a possibility that we have maybe 100 or 200 years left at the maximum on this planet before the environment gets to the point where it's not going to be able to support us. And we're starting to see that right now. See, we're going to be jumping around here and talking about a lot of these things. And the funny thing about this is not only are our actions affecting the planet right now, but other species out there that have been coming to this world for a long time and living here a lot longer than we have, it's affecting them as well. UFO activity has increased. Abduction experiences have increased. Sightings have increased all over the planet. Even sometimes airports are being shut down because of these craft coming in over the airports. Very interesting things we got going on here. One of my favorite things to look at that proves that there was something here, not only is Egypt and all these other places, but the Nazca Plains, down in South America. These drawings, these pictoglyphs, if you wish, hieroglyphics on the ground, just different ways to explain what they are amazing. We have runways there. But what really got me is an entire area of the Nazca Plains were shaved off, a mountaintop, basically. But there's no debris down the sides of the canyons and everything that show. Some of the ancient things that the Sumerians talked about the Anunnaki, was that they were building craft to mine and everything on this world itself for earth-moving stuff. And our technologies are so far advanced that we can only imagine the type of technologies that they had. So, we'll look at that aspect too. But facts of the matter, we're not the first ones here. Those who set foot on this planet in the very beginning were non-human. They were humanoid type. And according to also the ancient texts, These are clay cylinders that this stuff is written on from Syria. And there's civilizations older than them that talk also about beings before them, what they believe in, what they were here for. But they were talking about mixing the genetics, 80% of ours and 20% of ours. So in a sense, there's two creation myths. You have the beginning where the earth was, terraformed, as far as I'm concerned. If you look at the book of Genesis and exactly the way that it talks about how they put things here on this planet to begin with, is exactly the same thing you would do on a planet if you were terraforming it, trying to get it to a point where it would sustain life such as ours. Very important stuff we need to look at here. So we know basically about what our ancient ancestors have been talking about. That's why I don't do religion. Personally, I do my research. What got me into this was searching for God myself when I was young. What is God? Who is God? Where did all these religions come from? And if you do your research, you find out this is exactly where these religions and everything came from. India talks about the Vramana and the flying craft and the wars that these beings that were from the heavens had with one another. Now, if you look at ancient religions and ancient history, you're going to find out there was a lot of battles. And let's look at Sodom and Gomorrah, totally wiped out, so, by these beings, by God, shall we say, so it's very interesting. Okay, well, we've talked enough about Earth here and everything. Let's turn around and just look at other aspects outside of our Earth. Now, we have the Black Knight satellite out there that's been up there, and NASA hates to talk about this because, even Tesla, back in the days and everything, had indicated that there was something up there. He had received radio beacons or signals or whatever you wish to call it. And so he knew that there was something, and it came around periodically. The interesting thing about the Black Knight satellite, we know that it's not ours. It's been there, according to some sources, up to 13,000 years, and it's highly radioactive. But it keeps sending signals. Whether it's to Earth or outside, we don't know. Also, we want to look at the Arecibo. In 1974 was the WOW signal. I've heard from NASA scientists and physicists and other high-ranking scientists across the planet and everything to talk to. We've been contacted already. We've interpreted a lot of the signals that have come in. There's even been crop circles that talk about this. So it's very interesting what's going on. But we've already received signals from out there from an intelligent life, in one area, I think it was Sagittarius, that they even talked about signals coming from that area. And it seemed to be ship-to-ship communication. Now, they've analyzed all this, and they've found out what it is. But they're not telling us what it is. Some sources have come out and finally said, that they're these other life forms and everything, or this is just a way station for them because of resources, because of us, and some of these beings don't even like us. They look at us as a resource, while others are just watching us saying, you guys have got to make up your own mind. If you blow yourself up, you blow yourself up. Okay, so we know that we've had satellites and ISS, the International Space Station, seeing craft coming in and out. We've seen craft coming in and out. Your average citizen. I've already talked about higher influential people, presidents, and everything that see them. So we know they're there. So what else besides this planet? Where can we find evidence of this? Well, let's look at the moon. As I said, when the Apollo missions were up there, they found structures, little structures, like houses, like complexes, and they're very big too. These aren't for small beings, and that's another thing that our ancient histories talk about, these very tall, very large beings and everything who came down and gave us our way of looking at politics, educational systems, things of this that they taught us and gave to us. So it's kind of interesting. We're seeing some of the things on Earth that we're seeing. Seeing things on the moon, that the structures that are very similar to the ones on the Earth. Astronauts have talked about a tower there. I've seen in some of the Apollo pictures a massive craft that has crashed on the moon. Now, they say there's several of them. I've only seen one or two, but I have seen the structures there. The good thing about us is we can do research, go pull archives out of NASA, out of CIA, out of wherever we want to, through the Freedom of Information Act, and we can look at these things. Now, we know that a lot of the sheets are blacked out, don't tell us, but you can read in between the lines, but a photograph does not lie. That's why NASA is out there airbrushing stuff. We don't want people to see it. Facts are, I had a lot of stuff on Google Earth, and I was looking at Mars, and how I had areas highlighted for the Mars conference that I did, where you could see flowing water on the surface, you could see cave entrances, you could see all kinds of stuff, structures, destroyed structures, things of this nature. And I went back when I updated my Google Earth, and those areas where I had my little pinpoints are gone now. They've been erased. They've been airbrushed over. So they're still trying to hide things from us. That's why I know for a fact that we're not going to have full disclosure, especially from our government, for a long, long time to come. Disclosure is coming from us, not them. So the moon, not only does it have structures, but it seems to have giant antennas, underground structures of many different types. And on the dark side of the moon, even the Russians admit, because I don't just go by what the U.S. says, I also look at the files and pictures and documentation from the European Space Agency, Russia, and all these other places, which are a lot more open, a lot more freer with what's going on. We've also had individuals from Canada, the military individual up there. I forgot his name right off the top of the head. I'll remember it as we go later on in the show. But he begged the U.S. government, because he's been involved with the U.S. government, our agencies and our militaries back and forth, and talking about release this information, let people know what's going on out there. They need to know. I believe personally, if we knew this, we wouldn't be stuck in where we're at right now as far as politics and religions and the loops that we're stuck in economically. We need to go beyond that. We need to enhance our civilization, because we're going to have to leave this planet eventually. Planets and star systems do not last forever. And that's a stone cold fact right off the top. We all know that. So with the moon and its structures on the opposite side of the moon, on the dark side of the moon, since one side is only facing us, they have found mining facilities, they've said. Now, this is coming from Russian cosmonauts. And not only have they found mining facilities, they found craft that are setting on the moon. They've got pictures of beings on the moon, too, very large type beings. According to our astronauts, is the same thing. Thank goodness that even though NASA doesn't give us the actual confirmation on this, that the shortwave radio people of the world had picked up all this information and made their transcript and put it out to the world. So we do know what is on the moon. There are beings on the moon. As a matter of fact, through the space program that we have right now, the secret spacecraft program, we're on the moon already. Some of our astronauts flew over some dome structures in the middle of a crater, and they said, boy, I bet you those guys don't get out often, as a joking matter. Also, when our astronauts were up there on the moon, placing sensing and photographic equipment and things like that, seismometers, for checking earthquakes and things of this nature, they'd come out and they'd look and say, oh, we've had visitors again. I heard this myself on the transcripts, and I read it myself. So we know that there's interaction going on out there. When we were on the moon, there was things coming checking us out, moving some of the equipment, tilting some of the equipment, things of this nature. So the facts are, there is a whole lot happening on the moon's surface right now. We have reverse engineered craft. It's put us in space, TR3 and the TR3B, and there's many others. Some of the cylindrical craft that we see up there are ours. This is direct information from out of the programs that I was in, that I have seen myself. We've seen TR3Bs up here. If you know what you're looking for and you're out there searching, I got telescopes and night vision and everything. So we get a better view of things that are going on. And we're living in a hot spot anyway, where there's a lot of activity happening. So that's what's happening there. We got satellites around around the Earth. Our entire civilization seems to be set up by a previous civilization that were non-human. We were genetically manipulated to be what we are now. And they use what was here before. So we're looking at Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, things of this nature. Do your research. Check it out. We'll have a show on that in the near future. And I'll be bringing other people on too. The reason I'm doing this show myself is because this is something I wanted to talk about and get out there. So here we have the Earth, and we have the native peoples and records from thousands, millennia back, hundreds of thousands of years. We know man has been on the surface of the planet more than the 24 or 30 or 50,000 years they talk about. Heck, there's mining tunnels and everything down in South Africa right now that are 100,000 years old, and it shows the work within these tunnels had to take equipment. So they've been lying to us for a long time, but they shouldn't. They need to open things up so we can know who we are, where we're at right now, and get on with things instead of being stuck in these damn political and religious loops that we're in. We really have to. So, we've talked a little bit about the moon here and what's there. Our astronauts have admitted that when they were there, that there was beings and large beings and aircraft that were there watching us when we landed. There hasn't been any at all spacecraft that we have sent up into space that haven't been followed, haven't been checked out by extraterrestrial craft that are not ours. And that's something that we really need to look at and accept that fact and grow. Why not meet these beings? They're not going to come down and land on the White House lawn, as a lot of people think, oh, they should do this. They know humans. We're destructive and very violent creatures. What we don't understand, we try to kill. And that's just the way that is. So if you were a species and you knew that we were as violent as we are, that's why they tried to wipe us out a few times with the Great Flood and things like that. As God created the Great Flood, that was a natural event, actually. And, I'd kind of stay away from our species, too, to a point. And my reasoning was, let them do what they're going to do. We've been watching them for a long time, interacting with them. And only a few understand really what is going on and are accepting the fact that nothing is going to happen. Nobody's going to come save us from the crap that we've got ourselves into until we take the action to do things ourselves. And that's very important. Well, we got a break coming up here in a second. And, we have to do that. And we'll be right back. All right, we're back from break right now. And, let's get on where we were here. We were talking about the moon and our astronauts and all of our spacecraft being followed by these other beings. Space, the final frontier. What is it for us? We are going to go out there. We have to get out there. Elon Musk is doing a great job building craft and everything, but I've also heard from inside sources that, he's working with NASA, as well as others are. If you start working with NASA and the government, you're going to be groomed and brought into the programs, the secret space program in a sense. So when you get up there, the things that you see, the things that you're going to interact with are going to be very secretive. We're not going to hear about it. That's just the way it is. We've talked about the moon and about the Earth and the Black Knight satellite and our ancient civilizations, what they say, whatever our astronauts have seen on the moon, what they've talked about, and Buzz Aldrin, and many people out there are talking about these things. And as I said, one of our astronauts just got back from Antarctica. We got a lot going on down there. We've actually found an ancient civilization that isn't human. It's under the ice, very, very large area, and we can get into this in a show all by itself. And that astronaut said, you need to tell the people, it's evil. Well, we have to wonder about that. A lot of people say, no, that's just bogus. He didn't say that, but he came back pretty ill. And all of our world leaders have went down there. And also several of the, representatives, shall we say, of the Catholic Church has been down there. Why would all these world leaders go down there unless there was something to see? It's just been recently. So we got a lot of things going on. On the Earth and everything, and I think we're being prepped in a way for things that are happening on the Earth and everything and what's going on. But let's look at another place. Let's look at Mars. And as everybody knows, Mars is one of my favorite subjects. I've had a pull towards that planet ever since I was just a little kid, as we say, knee-high to a grasshopper. NASA has really blown it there because we use their technology to find out what's going on there. And what I mean by they've blown it is they've been trying to hide by, airbrushing over a lot of photographs. I've had scientists that work for NASA turn around and tell us that that's what they were doing. Just the same way they do with Google on certain aspects and secret locations on Earth, they'll airbrush over that so you can't see it. They'll fuzz it out. Well, the fact is we have so much evidence now from the space agencies, European Space Agency, the Russians, NASA itself, even though NASA's trying to hide a lot, they get so many pictures that have come in, they can't hide everything until we bring it out, until we spot things. In the Mars conference, I showed pictures of lakes, of trees, different types of creatures, fresh tracks being made. As a matter of fact, some of those tracks you can see what looks like either a creature or some type of craft. Now, I know what it is. It looked like a walker was coming along and dropped off a smaller craft that needed to go somewhere. The technologies that we have right now that they're hiding from us is unbelievable, anti-grav technology, things like this. And also we have video footage of 1964 of what has been looked at, this footage and everything. And so far, every single person said that it's not fake, of us landing on Mars as well, with several astronauts talking about it as they were coming down and literally landing on the surface. The interesting thing was when they landed on the surface, something moved, and they got it on camera as well. So the fact is they can't lie to us. We know what's going on right now. A lot of people don't do the research, and that's the key. Probably 75% of the population on this planet has no idea what's going on because they got their day-to-day jobs and everything, and they're worried about putting food on the table and things like that. That's the loop they want to keep you in. Well, there are those of us that have worked in secret programs and with the agencies, alphabet agencies, that have done the research. We have found the photographic evidence from landers and the rovers and things of this nature, also from the orbiters that are observing the surface. Like I said in my Mars presentation, I showed all kinds of stuff that was on Mars, and I wasn't the only one. We had a very large group of people that were showing pictures of Mars that were just straight up unbelievable. And we also had an astronaut this year at the Mars conference that talked about what he has seen and what he had talked about within agencies and other astronauts, and agrees 100% that there are other life forms out there, and we're out there now too, in big ways, big ways. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, we're beginning to terraform Mars. We are already on Mars. We have bases up there. We have not only the International Space Station, but there is another space station or so out there. We have the capability, one general said, right off the top. He says, we now have the ability to take ET home. What the heck do you think he was talking about? And we're not talking about a Volkswagen loading up with some rocket fuel and going there. We're talking about anti-grav technology and more. If we can take ET home, that's a long way, folks. That's a long way from Earth. So right now on Mars, we know for a fact that there was a civilization there. It was destroyed. There was a large cataclysmic event. The things that I have studied and have found out and been told by other scientists, that there was meteor bombardment of the planet. My theory is this: we had a planet breakup within our solar system, which is definitely the asteroid belt. It was just past Mars, so when it broke up, when they came around in a few more orbits or one orbit or whatever, Mars is bombarded. When you have a time period when a planet's being bombarded, you have chaos, you'll have strife, inner conflict. There's two areas on Mars right now that they believe were nuclear detonations, and some very large nuclear detonations, and that's because of Xenon 129, that's Xenon 129, and the other radioactive isotopes that they found on the surface in these areas, and they're indicative of a nuclear blast, just like we do on testing. Now, we do have natural formations of uranium and things that have went off, shall we say, but these are slow releases, and the release that we see within these particular scientific samples and everything that they've already taken shows 100% that these were literal nuclear blasts, like we have here, from weapons grade type nuclear weapons. Another thing, we see the structures up there on a regular basis. Almost every time an orbiter goes around and takes another picture, we've only looked at 1/10 of the Martian surface that they're showing you. They've done a lot of, the orbiter takes videos on a regular basis and pictures on a regular basis. They zoom in on areas, but they're only showing the public the 10% of Mars that they're going to let us see right now. Like I said, I've seen myself standing water. There's rivers there. Now, the interesting thing about Mars, the temperature gets just like on Earth during the daytime. It's around 78 degrees, 77, 78 degrees, something like that. At nighttime, the temperatures can drop down to, there's a conflict in that, but I'll say, 159 degrees to 200 degrees below zero, and that depends on where you're at on that planet too. If you're in the central part of the planet, of course, it isn't going to be as cold as it is at the poles. So we have to understand that there's going to be variations of that drop. Also, they found atomic oxygen in the atmosphere. Now they have found methane in the atmosphere, which they didn't find that much hardly at all before, which means only one thing: there's organic life there, and this methane is being let off. Okay, that's something very important people have to understand. NASA has also already proven that they can grow potatoes. They've copied the Martian environment and chambers and everything right here on the planet, and they've grown potatoes. They've grown also underground crops and other types of things. So we know for a fact that plant life can be on Mars. If plant life can be on Mars, there's microbes and there's other forms of life. We've got pictures of what it looks like snakes coming up out of the sand. We've got other pictures of other creatures coming up out of the sand with tentacles, things of this nature. Andrew Bashago has talked about these. I've talked about these. Other people have talked about these before these pictures were ever taken. I went through 30 hours of an interview and being asked in detail, descriptive things about things on Mars. I described them. And then all of a sudden they show me the pictures of exactly what I talked about. That's pretty amazing when you can describe something there. How I know these things? Very interesting question, isn't it? I think you all know the answer to that. The other facts here are that because of these temperature differences and variance and everything, there is flowing water on Mars. In the Mars conference, I turned around and showed pictures of small lakes with trees around them. These are taken from the orbiter itself, from NASA photographs themselves. Not something I did, not something Photoshopped, but the actual photographs. We've shown, as I said a few minutes ago, tracks. We've shown not only structures, but very similar carvings and everything in the sides of rock faces and cliffs like the Egyptian culture, almost some exactly like them, but the headdresses, everything else. It's interesting that the Egyptian culture seems to be on Mars and on Earth at the same time. Why would that be? Unless you had the same civilization in both places. Think about that for a minute. Okay, so we have atomic oxygen on Mars. We have methane increases on Mars. We're on Mars. We do know that. The rover pictures that were up there showed the rover was so dirty at one time they were going to shut down the program. Then all of a sudden, a wind came by and blew all the dust off the rover. The problem was with that, if you look at the pictures up there, and they show the rover before this supposed windstorm, dust storm came up, and the one next to it looks like they put the rover through a car wash. Even the wires and the components are super clean. Now, anybody knows that when wind blows over something, it creates a static charge, which means the dust is going to collect to it. All right, that's amateur scientific observation right there. So we know that their story of the wind was BS off the top. We've got pictures of craft landing coming in from, down into Mars to the Martian surface. We have pictures of lights showing up. And NASA still can't explain and say what these things are. They're not going to. They know what they are as well as I do and you do. But they're not going to tell anybody what it really is. We have to do the research ourselves. So we know that there is life on Mars right now. Forest. I put forest, pictures of small forest on Mars. That we're terraforming the planet. It's basically what I'm trying to say here. And it shows things planted in level, straight rows. And it shows roads in between or trails in between these things. Also, we got pictures of what looks like what we call foraging animals, like pigs, how they'll stick together and group up and move around. I described some of these things. What did NASA do? And the people that were interviewing me, they found these exact things that I was talking about there. So there's a lot going on Mars right now. It's just the way it is. There is life there. We're there. We've proven that. We got pictures of somebody leaning over, the shadow of a human leaning over the Mars rover, and the rover itself took this picture, and it looked like it had a 5-gallon water jug, like the Sparklets water jugs you get and everything. We don't know what that was. It could have been something else, but that looked like the shape of it. You could see the individual's hair. You could see goggles on him. You could see, a backpack type thing. So we know that we're there. The reason the rover is there and still working is for the 11 years is because we're fixing it there. The rover was only designed to work there for 90 days in that harsh environment. The only way it was going to continue is somebody's repairing it. That's just the way it is there. Okay, now that we know I've talked a lot about the things on Mars and what's going on there. We know that the daytime temperatures and everything there are copacetic, just like here on Earth. It's just the nighttime temperatures freeze. And we know when something freezes at nighttime, like my little lake out here, the surface will freeze over. When it warms up, the surface thaws out, and you have flowing water. Now, the rover has taken pictures of this. The orbiter has taken pictures of flowing water, small streams, and things of that. We dug into their archives, and we found way more than that. There's even settlements. You can see structures there that have doors, all types of stuff. But it's very obviously that Mars went through a very cataclysmic event that wiped out the civilization there. You can see tubes, that people or beings can traverse. They go directly underground. They're in canyons and everything else. So, there we are there. Facts are facts. They can't hide these facts. We got the photographic evidence. We got the video evidence. We got astronauts admitting the facts that we have a secret space program and things are going on up there. We also know that they're intermingling and interacting with these extraterrestrial beings. We know of for sure the 4 to 5 that they're interacting with, but 2 specifically they're interacting with right now. So what else? We've talked about the moon and the structures on the moon that they have there. The Apollo program, how they've seen beings there and seen craft there. We've talked about the European Space Agency that also has said and seen the same thing. Photographic, video evidence, crashed massive craft, mile long, things larger than that there. Structures, dishes, like we have our dishes for our satellite TVs and everything, but massive in nature. We've also seen smoke coming out of what looks like a tower, that we have here, like you got your chimney on your wood-burning silver thing. But this, of course, is massive, and there's puffs of smoke coming out of this thing at times. So there's something there. That doesn't happen unless you have a culture there, unless you have a species there doing something. And we know that these species do a lot of underground stuff, as on Mars. Most of the life on Mars are in the crevices and things, and they go into caves and things and protect themselves from the cold at nighttime. But we've also found out that some of these life forms and everything have like an antifreeze type blood, like some of the creatures right here on this planet have. Certain frogs, you can freeze them, for 20 years, thaw them out, they're alive. That's just the way it is. So if we look at the sciences and everything, we'll find this out to be very, very true. Okay, so we looked at Mars, we've looked at Earth and our ancient histories and our legends and everything, and the peoples that talk about these star systems and everything that we couldn't even prove until 1974 and on, when the scientists found these star systems that these ancient Aboriginal peoples were talking about. Okay, these are facts. These aren't things that are guessed up. These are stone cold facts. Okay, also, we want to talk about the sun now. Right now, around the sun, we see so much activity from not our craft, but extraterrestrial craft that is literally unbelievable at the present time. And there's not much I can say about that, except for do your own observations. Go to the SOHO, S-O-H-O, just type that in and put SOHO anomalies, and you'll start to see a lot of these things that they're talking about, that I'm talking about right here. Some of these craft, it seems that they're fueling off the plasma or the energy of the sun. And some of these craft are the size of planets. Now, I'm not BSing you here. This is stone cold fact. Some of these craft are massive, and they've seen fleets of them coming across, past the sun, heading in the Earth's direction. It's just the way that it really is. So we have to turn around and look at all the aspects within our solar system. That's what I'm talking about. Things that are happening within our solar system. And even Jupiter has some moons that look like they were like the Death Star. We have to be realistic about it. It's kind of funny that they're trying to hide this stuff from us when they're giving us the video footage and the still footage from all types of spacecraft from every country on the planet right now. So it's something that we can't hide from anymore. The sun has changed. Even scientists are saying the high period and the low period, you can knock that out of the box now because that's gone. Our sun is even changing right now. It's putting out different rays, which I felt this many, many years ago. I came out on the ranch one day and took my shirt off, and I go, the sun's different. I can feel it different on my skin. It was a nice sunny day, just like it had been all the time, but the suns last so long. And then they burn their hydrogen up, and then they start burning helium. So, we really need to look at those aspects and do the science and not be a dumb civilization. They like to keep us dumbed down so we don't know what's really going on. So what we see in their photographs and everything, oh, these are just this anomaly or that anomaly, and it's because of this or that, and they never give you the truth. But once you dig down yourself and you start doing the research and you hook up with scientists like I have across the planet, planetary scientists, oceanographers, space scientists, astronomers, and they start telling you what's really going on out there. Then you start, a whole new reality opens up to you on what's going on. And it kind of makes you feel good, because then you know that there is something else going on. And we've been around for a lot longer, intermingling and interacting with these other species. They don't want you to know that, because they were afraid that, if we tell people there's extraterrestrials out there, the religious aspects, the world's going to go into chaos because of knowing this. Well, that's not the case. That's not the case anymore. And people need to understand that. So with that said, I want to challenge you all to go to the stereo satellite anomalies. Go to the SOHO satellite anomalies and look at some of these pictures. One of them has a craft that is round, and it's near the bottom of the sun, to the bottom to the left, and it is so massive you can see it whipping up, plasma directly from the sun itself to it. It's not the other way around. But just think of the gravitational abilities that these craft have to have. The sun's gravitational field will suck you right into it. But these craft are able to get right up close to the sun, suck plasma or whatever it is, energy right off of it, store it in themselves, and when this one that I'm talking about, a giant globe-like object, takes off, it creates eddies off of the sun. Now that's amazing to be able to do something like that. So the facts are, folks, there's a lot of things that are going on out there. And the sun is one of the first places I would like people to go look. You can look at the Mars pictures, and you can look at the moon pictures and things. But the sun, we're getting pictures from there all the time. Not of destroyed technologies, but things that are happening in our solar system around our sun right now. And there's a lot of the anomaly pictures out there from these two satellite systems and other satellite systems. Do your research and go out there and start really, really getting in depth and looking at this. It's going to change your life. You'll look at religion and say, wait a minute here. These are dogmas. These are things that have been given to us to control us. Religions have been put there to control us. The monetary system has been put there to control us. Our governments are there to control us, to keep us within a certain box. They want this matrix of reality that they want us to see is false. It's fake. Notice how every single election they always talk about, education and politics and the left and the right. Everything is set up, even football games and everything, to make us take a side. Us against them or them against us, or however it is. We got to get away from that. We got to start working together. We have to start realizing what is really, really going on, what the control factor is, and we need to get out into space, and we have to accept the facts that we are, shall we say, the descendants of extraterrestrial beings. Beings from off of this planet, from other worlds. I believe in a God. I believe in a source and a force, this life force that keeps us all alive and going. I believe in that. That's what I look at as God, that life force that is in all living things and all things. But I do not believe in the religions that they talk about and the gods that they talk about there. What we are talking about are ancient extraterrestrial beings that came here a long time ago. But the activity around Mars, around the moon, our planet right now, is amazing. And they're not our craft. It's not our civilization. Some of it is because of reverse technology. Mark McCandlish and I have sat and talked about this for hours, as I have with other people that have worked for the Department of Defense, CIA, and things of this nature. So, the facts are they are out there. We are going out there now. Our civilization has to become a spacefaring civilization. We have to get away from what we're doing right now because we're destroying this planet, by leaps and bounds, actually. But the good thing is there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We have the technology. If we have that fine blend of old-fashioned ways and understandings in modern technology, there's nothing we can't make it through. And that's the positive note that I want to tell everybody out there, because even the last show I talked about, because of our technology and everything that we have right now, we can live through anything. With the weakening magnetic field that we're having right now, which I talked about in the last show and everything. But the facts are, ladies and gentlemen, our solar system is like an LA freeway. There is so much activity going on out there right now. Cloaked craft. We've got individuals, and NASA have taken pictures of craft out there that are cloaked. You can see them, and you can see their shape, but you can't see them 100%. And these are right close. Our space station, the International Space Station, has also shown craft pulling up to it. Triangular type craft, long cylindrical type craft. The structures on the moon, the lights on the moon in some craters. It's like they got entire cities in some areas on the dark side. And these are illuminated. But do you see the pictures of these things? You used to, until they started airbrushing things out. They don't want people to know what's going on. We have to ask ourselves why. Because it'll break the control structure of what we're doing right now. The normal political structure and everything will fall apart, and we'll become more scientifically oriented, and we'll break away from these religions that make us fight and kill one another out there. Look at the wars we've had on this planet, all because of religion and politics. Basically, that's what it is. And right now, they're controlling resources to the maximum because they know where our planet's heading, and that's just the way that really is. So I want you to do your research. I want you to go and look at the SOHO anomalies. Type it in your computer. The stereo satellite picture anomalies. Look at them. Go look at Mars anomalies. Look at that, Also, Secure Team is one of the places I like to go on YouTube. So type in Secure Team on YouTube, and you'll see a lot of really good stuff that they have out there. It's one of the sites I like to go to, because they're always bringing up new things, and it's very important for you to do that. So there's a lot going on out there. There's a lot of BS going on out there too. But the fact is, do your research, study some of the stuff about the Anunnaki and our ancient tribes and peoples and things like that talk about beings coming from space. Look at the anomalies around the sun, and I'm telling you, you're going to be totally amazed. Literally, totally amazed at what's going on around us in space within our solar system. So, we're coming towards the end of the show here. We only got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left to go. I'm going to give you this challenge. Please do the research out there. It's going to break you away from the news and the media. Stop watching the news out there. That's a control factor. The media is a very big control factor that makes you worry about all this and all that. Now, I don't worry about any of this stuff anymore. I'm not even a part of this society anymore. I'm studying about things that are coming our way, technologies that can help us out. That's why I'm off the grid totally. Right now I'm doing this entire show of solar. I'm not running a power plant. I'm not connected to the main grid. I have my own little lake. We have wildlife around us. We have less problems than most people out there. Our bills are down to like $100 a month. Things like this, maybe $200 at the most. So that's during the winter time. So advance ourselves, enlighten yourself, get spiritual. That's where we need to be. Start studying technologies, things that can make your life better. Things that can make the world a better place, because at the rate we're going right now, you look at it, religion and politics, resource control, something big is happening. And now all these things are finding into the Antarctic right now, this other civilization that they have found down there under the ice, and it's not ours. It's those that were here before us. We know that for a fact. So we have to really pay attention to what's going on. So start looking at some of the stuff that's happening in the Antarctica, on Mars, on Moon. Definitely look at the anomalies around the sun. And I think you're really going to come to a new understanding of where humanity came from, where we came from, where we are heading, our interactions with these other species and things. And that's about it. And with that said, that's the end of the program. So enjoy yourself and have a good day.